This is actually my third attempt at making a video today. The first one went something like this.
I see a red door and I want it painted black. No colors anymore.
The second one went something like this. And they both suck. So now we're on try 3, which third time's a charm, I'm hoping. I'm going to be doing the scar tag. Just gonna talk about my scars because why not? There's always something interesting about a scar story. So the first scar that I acquired was when I was about 4 years old, but it's on my right ankle, and I got this in an Italian airport. We were rushing because we were going to be late for a flight, and it's really bad to run through an Italian airport because there's actually snipers in the airport, so it looks really suspicious when you're running, and then it kind of causes a scene and you draw a lot of attention to yourself, and it's just not good. So we were going down an escalator. All of a sudden I just trip and fall down the entire escalator. So we get off the escalator and we're still running through the airport, and then I'm like, wow, my ankle really hurts. I'm like, Mom, my ankle hurts. And she's like, come on, we're gonna miss the flight, you know? And then I'm like, Mom, it really hurts. And so we stopped, and my sock is like covered in blood. And she's like, oh, probably because you fell down the escalator. That happened like 5 minutes ago. And so because my mom is a mom, she just pulls out a new pair of socks out of her purse, because of course all moms carry socks for their children, right? So I got a band-aid somehow, and I got a new pair of socks, and then she got me a wheelchair because we still had to get to our flight. So now I'm in a wheelchair and we're running through the airport with a bleeding 4-year-old. And to this day, 14 years later, still have a scar. I have a scar on my chin right here. This happened in 1st grade. It's either 1st or 2nd grade. So I was 6 or 7 at the time. And you know those jungle gyms that's like a spider web? I'll put a picture right here. You know, it's like a spider web jungle gym. So we had those at my elementary school, and I was climbing on top of it because you can climb on the outside or the inside. You know, it just depends how much of a rebel you are at 2nd grade level. So I was climbing on the outside, and one of my friends at the time, she's still my friend, but she was climbing on the inside, and people used to do backflips or front flips, whatever, off of the top of the spider web. And you know, when you're 7 years old, this thing looks huge. So climbing on the inside of this, and I watched her do a flip, and she landed on the sand underneath. She landed, I'm like, oh, I can totally do that. So I climb up from underneath the spider web, and so I'm on my back, and I do the flip, and my hands slip before I was ready, and I fell down the like 5 or 6 feet it was. I landed right on my face and like slid in the sand and sliced open my chin from like here to here, my whole chin. And so I started bawling my eyes out, and I had sand all in the cut, and it was all bloody. My mom gets there and she takes me to the hospital, and I had to get, well, first they had to clean all the sand out of my chin. So they had a sponge, like a kitchen sponge, scrubbing at this cut, scrubbing an open wound. That sucks. So I'm like crying even more now because it hurts so much. And so they're done scrubbing it, and then I had to get stitches, obviously, because it was like sliced open. So then they had to numb my face, and they're like rubbing it over my chin, numbing it, and it sucks. So the first time I like jolted my entire body off of the table, so they had to do it again because I jumped so high in the air. I had to get 5 stitches in my chin. I was supposed to get my wisdom teeth out, but I did not because of this other incident. So I was at Meijer with one of my friends, and I was going to spend the night at her house because she was having kind of a party. So we were going to Meijer to buy food for the party, and we're just walking around, and I'm like walking like this, doubled over, and I was in so much pain, and it was just kind of all of a sudden, like my stomach just hurt so bad. And so we had to leave Meijer before we were even done because I was like, oh god. So she took me home, and I'm like, yeah, I'll be fine, I'll still come, I'm just gonna take a nap or whatever and take some medicine. So I lay down on the couch for a little bit, and then I'm like, oh god, I'm gonna puke, like, it's gonna happen. So I ran to the bathroom and was sitting on the bathroom floor like, okay, something is seriously wrong. And then my parents weren't even home at the time, I was home alone. And so my mom gets home and I'm in the bathroom crying on the floor. And she walks in and she's like, oh my god, are you okay? I'm like, no, I'm not okay. It hurts so much. And so she's like, okay, we're going to the hospital. I'm sitting in the emergency room like, oh, with all the other gross people that are in there. And then I finally get to a room and they're like, okay, well, if you're having this much pain, you probably have appendicitis. I'm like, oh, great. And by the time I got to the hospital, it actually stopped hurting, which, of course, just my luck. So they think I'm faking it, right? So I get an ultrasound and like a CAT scan and a bunch of other stuff. And they're like, yeah, you definitely have appendicitis. Your appendix is the size of a softball. So we're gonna take it out in a few hours. I'm like, oh, so like this is happening right now. I'm not gonna come back in a few days or something. So like, no, we're gonna take it out at about 6 a.m. And I went to the hospital at like 10 or 11 at night. And by the time we got in the emergency room and I got through all the scans and they figured it all out, it was probably like 1 or 2 in the morning. So like 3 or 4 hours before I'm gonna get the surgery. So now I'm sitting there waiting for morning to get this freaking surgery. I'm kind of freaking out because I'm like, oh god, I'm getting surgery. Like, I've never really had surgery before. But then I was kind of like, alright, I'm gonna have a big scar, it's gonna be so cool. I thought it was gonna be like this big. No, I have 3 itty bitty scars that are like this long, like in my stomach area, because it was all done internally, like laparoscopically, I think that's the word, where they have like little cameras that go inside of you and it's all done internally. So my scars are puny and they're basically gone now. I mean, I can still see it's a scar, but it's pretty sad. And I'm kind of a sick person, so I wanted to keep it like in a jar. How cool would that be? Like preserve it in a jar, but they wouldn't let me keep it. However, I did get a picture of it. It's a pretty like awesome picture. Everything turned out okay. Their recovery period was awful though. I was bedridden for like a week. And at one point towards the end of my recovery, I was being more active and stuff. So I remember I went to the kitchen sink just to get a drink of water, and I'm standing there drinking the water, and then I just kind of like froze all of a sudden and just passed out on the kitchen floor. And I dropped the glass in the sink and it shattered, and I was just on the floor all of a sudden. And my parents are like, oh my god, are you okay? Are you okay? I'm like, yeah, I think so. So I was kind of like out of it. I don't think I have any other scars. Hope you enjoyed my scar stories. If you have anything interesting that you want to share, just comment below. Hope you enjoyed your holidays, and I might do a what I got for Christmas haul, so it's probably gonna be my next video. If you're excited for that, give this a thumbs up. Alright, bye.